welcome to the Purpose Over Profit podcast with Darren and Chris, where each week we discuss what it takes to live a life of purpose and profit and explore the lives of people trying to achieve just that. So welcome back to the Purpose Over Profit podcast. As always, I've got my co-host with me, Chris. How are you doing, Chris?
Very well, even better for seeing James.
Yeah, as Chris says, we've got James Fleming on this week from the Power Within Training and Development. How are you doing, James?
I'm fantastic. Thank you very much. And thank you both guys for having me on. I'm really looking forward to this because it means a lot to me, this profit over purpose statement. And I think the podcast is just absolutely perfect for where we are right now in the world of uncertainty.
Fantastic. And it's a purpose over profit as well, James.
That's the one that's
But that's fantastic. What are you drinking? What are you drinking there first off before we jump in?
It is an effervescent drink. It's my morning. I have a pint of this every morning. We won't go into what it makes my pee do, but hey,
yeah. Well, we've just gone there. Are you able to share brands? Is it a Barocca or?
It's a Barocca. It is.
Barocca, love it.
A Barocca every morning. Yes.
Fantastic.
I love that.
So, what we're going to kick off, James, I guess first of all is probably just get a bit of an idea about you. So, it's always good for our listeners who haven't heard you before to kind of give us a bit of a background about where you've came from, what you've done in your life as well, and where you are now, and bring us right up to speed. Would you be interested in giving our listeners a bit of a hear about that?
Absolutely. So, my background, I'm a Glasgow-born boy, or I'm a Lanarkshire-born boy. Was born in a wee place called Newmains, just outside of Wishaw near Motherwell. Got three sisters, and I left school at 17. I stayed on an extra year because my dad paid me to go back to school, believe it or not, because I was going to, back then, we didn't really talk about going to university and all those things. It was go get a job or get a trade, and that was kind of how it was all supposed to be. And however, I was not going to stick to that mould. Stayed on school for a fifth year, left school, and I became an electrician. So I was a sparky with a local Wishaw company, and I always knew, I know this is really, really nuts, but I always knew that I was destined to do something with my life. I don't know how to explain it, but I just never, ever accepted the norm. I always knew I was going to do something in my life. I was going to do something different. And I always knew, believe it or not, that I was going to travel the world. And I got my time served as an electrician. And by the time I was 22, coming up in 23, I had moved to America. I was living over in America, and I was working in a children's camp as an electrician. So I did that for about a year, just over a year. I then came back to the UK, and I started working for an electronics company called NEC up in Livingston. And while I was working for them, I did an HNC and then an HND in electronic engineering. And that kind of took me into a completely different type of role. So it took me away from electrical, more into kind of electronics and engineering, the kind of real engineering. So that was kind of the start of my career. I then moved back to America with the company. I was there for about 18 months. They then moved me to Ireland. So I lived in Dublin, actually County Kildare, just outside of Dublin, until I was about 28. I then moved back to I quit my job because I couldn't handle it. I get bored really easy. And I just didn't see myself working in a factory environment my whole life. So I moved back to the UK, and within about a month of moving back, I had joined the oil and gas industry.
And that's at that age of 29, I'm guessing, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, wow.
I joined the oil and gas industry. I was an engineer, and basically my role was in an electrical and electronics specialist. So they used to just call me up and send me. I used to travel all over the world, doing fault finding, testing, inspection, and commissioning of. I won't go into the details, but these really massive computer systems that used to control the flow of oil. So I did that for a few years, and then I ended up in Oman as a field service manager. So my very first manager's job. And then I did a really good job there. I then get promoted to Saudi Arabia. So I was Saudi Arabia country manager. Did that for a few years, and then I get promoted again. and they call it geo-market. So I was looking after Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and Kuwait. And then I just increased, kept getting promoted. I was career development and talent manager for Middle East and Asia, and then I was running a business, about $4.5 billion business.
Wow.
As operations and regional director for Middle East and Asia. So yeah, I've always pushed the boundaries of what's both possible and plausible. And that brought me to where I am today. Me and my wife decided that we think we can do it better. We think we can instill that belief system in others based on my background. And we came home 2016, at the very end of 2016, and started up a company in February of 2017. And the Power Within was born.
Wow, that's quite a journey from being a Sparky to all around the world, even Ireland, and then traveling all the way back home as well. Did you always want to come back home to start your own business, or was that something that just came by chance? Or
I think so. Not really. I always wanted to run my own business, because the way I looked at it is I could see how well I was able to build businesses for others, and I thought, I wonder if I could do this for myself. But you're in that comfort zone. Yeah, you kind of feel comfortable. I mean, I'm not going to get into the figures, but I was making stupid money, right? Stupid money. Hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and you kind of almost become accustomed to your lifestyle. So I think that was what held me back for most of it, was just you become so accustomed to, making all this money and living in nice fancy houses. I had a swimming pool in my garden. I drove a £150,000 car. You become accustomed to that. So that was kind of holding me back. But once I hit 40, when I turned 40, Chris, I ran my very first marathon, right? I ran the Dubai Marathon, and that changed my life forever, because I realised that what I put my body and my mind through to not, first of all, run a marathon, and secondly, run one in Dubai, the heat.
Yeah, wow.
I put myself through, I stopped drinking alcohol, really focused on the race. I wanted to do my best. And I had a lot of epiphanies during those 3 or 4 months. And I realised that I actually could go on and do anything in my life that I wanted. And that was kind of the defining moment that really said, I can do this. I can build a training company that lives and breathes my passion and my purpose and my ethos of life, I suppose, without being too corny.
I love that, James. So that element that you mentioned there, obviously the title of our show is Purpose Over Profit, but you mentioned there almost, and correct me if I'm assuming this here, but profit was holding you back from living your purpose at that point or before that point.
That's exactly, I never actually thought about it like that. But it was the profit that would stop me from living absolutely going and fulfilling my own purpose. And once I got over that, and it was, when you think, how can run a marathon do that? But it changed my life forever, because I realised that I actually could go on and do anything. So I almost, like you said, the profit was almost holding me back.
So, and where did the training company come? So it sounds like you've achieved a load of success. You're building companies. You're leading more teams. You're moving into, expanding your remit. What was it that was kind of throughout that sort of 3-4 month process that made you, because it's not just a career shift to start your own business. It sounds like a change of industry as well for you.
Absolutely. Now, it's a tough one to explain that, because in actual fact, when you're growing and building businesses, right, what you're doing is actually training and developing people. That's it. I learned really early on that if I could get people on side, my job as a leader or a business manager was easy. So I learned really easy early on. Now, back in 2009, I went on a leadership program with a company called Too Logical, who, by the way, I think they're rated in the top 10 leadership development companies in the world, and who are now one of my global partners, which is amazing, because I was their very first ever global. In fact, they didn't even have anything until I came along.
That is phenomenal.
We'll get into that part. So I went on this leadership training course back in 2009, and it absolutely blew me away. And it was all about mindset. It was all about, if you can control your thoughts, then you can control your destiny. And I know that sounds nuts for a leadership course, but it really was so important to how I ended up changing my own life in terms of growing and developing businesses, because I realized it was all about people. It was never about the product. It was always about developing people. Now, as part of my own growth plan, I work for one of the largest oil and gas companies in the world, and as part of my own growth plan, I was actually promoted into a leadership role, a learning and development role. So I was regional career and talent development manager for Middle East and Asia. So it was part of how they described it was I was a rough diamond from Glasgow, and they were trying to almost let me see the business from another set of eyes. So for 2 years, I was in a career and talent development role. And by the way, I took the company. So we had 7 regions across the world, and they have KPIs on career development and talent development. Now, out of those 9 regions, we were the 7th worst region in the world for developing our talent.
Wow.
Now, when I took over that role, I took us in 6 months from number 7 to number 1, and we stayed there for the remainder of my tenure in that position, from 7th worst to the top leadership development part of the business. And that was all about doing things different. So what I did is I took my mindset as an operations guy, and we used to blame HR and training for everything. We're operations and we make the money. But once I went into that new role, I thought, how can I make it easier for these guys? How can I make this process more simpler? So basically what I did is exactly what we were talking about. I went into the country. I built a team of people. We went to the countries. We sat down and we said, we don't want to put this on you. But what we should do is give me some of your high performers. Give me some of your young growing talent. And what we'll do is we'll give it as one of their roles and responsibilities for their growth. And we'll task them with implementing some of these strategies and changes. And it was mind-blowing. The results were just incredible.
I love that. It does make me reminisce a bit about my Tesco days, where there was this, if you were new into management or whatever, it was, you'll get this job because it's good for your development. But it sounds like that approach in terms of not only kind of relatively new, people coming into the business, they hadn't been biased by the culture potentially already, but they were ripe to be able to take your message basically forward and help kind of influence that culture from within.
Absolutely, 100%.
And it sounds as well like that passion then fueled your own passion to kind of develop people and actually move into your own business eventually as well. And it seems like was that one of the kind of starting points for you to work with people and grow them? Or was it before that? I mean,
no, that was it. That was the key moment because I really struggled with it. I couldn't understand. I thought, I'm so good at operations. I'm so good at building businesses. Everywhere I went, I would take the company, and double and treble our profits, our profitability. And so I couldn't really understand, why do they want to move me in an HR role? I couldn't understand it until I'd done it. So they seen something in me that I couldn't see myself. And when I realized how training and development and believing in people could change their lives in such a small time, time frame, that was another, really awakening moment. And by the way, it just happened to be the same year that I turned 40, believe it or not. So all these things happened in a 12-month period.
Well, I absolutely love this story about the marathon because I haven't done one myself. I know Darren's done one as well. But I mean, when I left my job, I did Tough Mudder. Yeah, I was injured at the time and I shouldn't have done it, but I wanted to get that kind of physical barrier over and that mental barrier and say that I can do this because you've left your job, you want to do a new career path as well, you want to create that trajectory forward for yourself. So just listening to yourself is just refreshing to hear how your mindset changed completely around. You basically cut out alcohol, you focused, you had these epiphanies, and that sounds tremendous in itself. Do you still do marathons? I
do, yeah. Well, I've not done that. My last one, I was supposed to be running the London Marathon, no last year, but the year before, but I got injured. I actually pulled a tendon in my leg, 6 weeks before, was it 6 weeks or 4 weeks before the London Marathon, and I was absolutely devastated. I actually did a wee, I think it was a Facebook Live video. I was almost in tears. I was devastated because, again, I wanted to really do a really good time, and I really focus for months on the training, and I had to pull out the last minute, and I was absolutely devastated. But that was the last training I'd done. And will I do another one? Don't know.
We'll maybe get Chris to commit one on air to do one later this year at some point. A purpose over profit marathon, Chris. I'll leave that with you to just simmer. So James, what do you do now? Like, obviously, still doing a bit of running and stuff. What do you do? You've got this great energy about you, but what do you do to kind of keep that at that level? I guess.
I guess just to build on that, we're interested to understand people's morning routines. And I've spoke to you before, James. So I know your kind of routine, what you daily do. It'd be interesting for our listeners to hear what you do in a morning.
Yep. So we are very, very regimented around having that system in place for ourselves as well as our business. So we wake up in the morning. So we are 5:45 every single morning, except the weekend. But I'll get to the weekend routine. So we get up. While I go for a walk or we go for a run. Yep. We then once we get back, showered, we have our breakfast. We always have a really high protein breakfast. Really we're very, very healthy eaters. We have a high protein breakfast. Then we literally get straight into work. So we plan everything the night before. So I don't come in here on a morning. Let's say I'm this morning, Monday morning, think, okay, what have I got to do today? I've planned that on a Sunday. And a Sunday I actually plan my whole week.
Yep.
So I plan Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. My whole week is planned. And then every night before I finish work, so tonight, I will go to my book. So it's all on I've got a big goal board in front of me. I know your listeners obviously don't see that, but I've got a goal board and I have everything written up there on a Sunday. I then use a book as the kind of almost the visual aspect to the goal setting. I then write my goals Monday, Tuesday, but I write on a Monday night, I write Tuesday, on a Tuesday night, I write Wednesday. So my mind's already in the game the minute I wake up. So we do that. That's our morning routine is walk or run, breakfast, and then straight into work now. But we're big readers.
Yeah.
So we do Audible every single morning. We probably go through maybe 2 or 3 books a month. And it's always something around leadership, personal, professional development. It's always something. And by the way, we always take one thing from the book and we implement it into our business and we test and measure to see if it works for us. So we do that every morning. Then I want to kind of talk you through the whole work day. We stop work for after every 50 minutes. So we kind of stop everything we do. We get up, we go for a coffee. We actually stop for 5 minutes. I have an app on my computer, on my MacBook, and my screen goes green, so I can't actually work for 5 minutes. We do that every 50 minutes, and it almost refreshes your brain.
Fantastic.
And then what we do is after kind of 3 hours, we stop for lunch. So we stop, and again we have a high protein lunch, and that almost keeps your brain in gear, if that makes sense. It stops you being lethargic. So that's kind of morning routines. Now we do a bit of meditation, not every single morning, but if we're having maybe a heavy morning, but we meditate every evening. So before we go to sleep, we actually sit in our bed and we actually give ourselves 5 minutes just to breathe and get our mind and clear everything from the day.
And do you do that together or just independently?
Yeah, no, we do it as a couple. Yeah, no, we do it. It sounds crazy, doesn't it? We do everything as a couple. But it's been really good for our business because we've got different personalities. Chris, I know through the branding process, we were together for months going through that process. I'm a big risk taker. You won't go anywhere in life unless you're willing to take risk. But my wife's almost the wee voice in the shoulder to really kind of, have you really thought about that? Do you really think that's the right way to go? So we work really well together, and I think it's, everybody needs that in their business. I'm not saying everybody needs their wife to work with them, but everybody needs that person in their business, whether it's a coach, whether it's a mentor. They need somebody who they can bounce those things off of, that will tell them how it is.
Yeah, it's even that accountability thing as well, James, just in terms of how you use, I'm sure when that alarm goes off at times at 5:45 in the morning, there's maybe a bit of some days it might be, I don't know, one or other, you might just not be feeling that way, that particularly motivated, but it's great to have that, I guess be sleep next to someone that's going to give you the nudge, right? It's time to go. It's time to get this day started, and both enabling each other in that way.
Absolutely. Do you know, honestly, we very, very rarely have a day where we're like, you know what, I can't be bothered, because we're so focused on our vision in the business. We are, I know Chris knows this. We're working with this for so long. We are absolutely dedicated with every bone in our body. And by the way, not just for us, we have that same dedication for our clients. We over deliver time after time after time because we are so passionate about our purpose.
And that's what we'll come on to. We're going to talk about your purpose, your vision, your goals for the future. But you mentioned the weekend. So how does it differ, your routine from the weekend?
So on a Saturday morning, 7:30. So we actually try and have I'm awake. So normally we're lying in bed and we're chatting away. But I only got up at 7:30. My wife doesn't get for a run on a Saturday. So Saturday's I do a 5K quite fast. I do a fast 5K.
Wow.
And it's just my thing. My wife makes me a breakfast in a Saturday morning. So she doesn't exercise on a Saturday morning. But I got I run quite a hard 5K. It's just over 5K every Saturday morning. And then Saturday's are almost relaxed day. We try to relax on a Saturday. Is
that your kind of recharge day to a point?
It is. I mean, Sunday as well. But what we do on a Sunday morning is we get up early, we have breakfast, then we go for a 2.5 hour walk. So we really go for a big walk every single Sunday without fail. It takes us about 2.5 hours. We do we talk about work, and we talk about life, and we talk about the week ahead, and we talk about our challenges, and it's really that extra, hour, because in the morning we only do an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. That extra hour and a half really lets us kind of clear our heads and bring up the things that we, maybe we're not sitting well with or challenges. So we use that really well. Then we come in on a Sunday and we try to relax for an hour. And then we come into the office, and this is our getting ready for the week. We come into the office normally around 2:00 on a Sunday, and we spend about an hour in here, and we go, what went well, what went not so well, what we could do better next week, and we write all that up on our goal board. So we look at our goals. We say, well, we're 30% there in the month, we're 60% there. We go into our quarterly goals, and we actually write percentages up about how far we're moving. So we're constantly testing and measuring. And what it also allows us to do, which I love, is it allows us to know what's not working quite quickly.
You can see there, just by you talking about that, a lot of it's done. The success starts the day before. The success starts the week before. So this idea of when the alarm goes off at 5:45, there's already an energy created that's distilled before you've went to sleep the night before of what you've got to get up and go and do. So there's not this lethargy almost about, I'm maybe just rolling into the day. You know exactly that you need to get up because you're motivated for the things that you're going to get done because they're already planned.
Listen, Dan, one word, simple: consistency. If you are not consistent about goals and plans and executing action, and this is the biggest mistake I see with businesses, is they already know what to do. They just don't consistently do it. They go, oh, I did social media, I tried that, it doesn't work. Oh, I tried a business coach, it doesn't work. I tried that, it doesn't work. You just think, consistency. I think Simon Sinek says it really well when he talks about brushing your teeth. Brushing your teeth does nothing, right? If you only brush your teeth for 20 minutes, once every 6 months, it's the brushing your teeth twice a day for 2 minutes every day, day in, day out, that creates the results. Going into a gym and spending 9 hours in a gym and then coming home and think you're going to look great, it doesn't. It's going to a gym 4 or 5 times a week for 20, 30 minutes where you see the results. And business is exactly the same. And so success, we have a wee saying in our business, if you think you can or think you can't, you're right. And it's Henry Ford.
Yeah.
Love that. Yeah.
You know, and so it's that mindset. I know obviously the company's all about mindset and motivational intelligence, but it is, you know, all success and all failure starts with a mindset. It's just being able to get out of your own bloody way.
And I was going to ask, James, I'm going to bring it round again, back round. So obviously I want to talk about your business purpose, your own purpose, why it's so important, what your vision. But before we get into all that, I guess it'd be interesting because you talked about mindset, because obviously the biggest challenge everyone's faced in the most recent times is the pandemic that's hit us. So when I first spoke to you or chatting about your business model, how that might have changed, how has your business model changed given COVID, and how do you see, well, what do you see the opportunities being in a kind of post-COVID world?
Okay, so really, really simple. We sat on I think it was the 26th of March 2020, and we had lost 95% of our revenue, our customers, our income. After all, you know, those years of building that up, we looked up at our goals. So our goal split into business goals, personal goals, and professional kind of numbers. Right, so we're always focused on the three main aspects. And we looked up at the board, and there was about 120k on the board, a lost business, cancelled business. And we thought, what are we going to do? So I was really, and knowing mindset wise, I was really thinking, you know, going to have to get a job. What am I going to do here? So anyway, we went our walk. So here's the walk coming back in. We went out a walk. We came back in about an hour later. And we came into the room, and we were looking up at the board and thinking to ourselves, what could we do? What can we do different? And I looked at my wife and I says, could you imagine if we could start afresh today? Knowing what we know, all the systems we've created, all the courses we've created, the clients, the brand, everything that we've already built. Imagine we could start all over again right now today. I jumped up onto we've got a big, obviously viewers won't see, but we've got a great big long office table. I jumped up onto the table, I wiped the board clean, and I says, right, let's start again. So we did. We started again. We took every penny we had at the bank. We invested in digital. We looked at our business. You know, we brought on a Chris. We looked at our branding. We built a new website, and we just went to town. We just decided we are burning all bridges. It either works or we go sweep the streets if need be. And we increased our business in the last 10 months by over 300%.
Wow.
By that mindset, by saying, hold on a minute, I teach this stuff. I should know better. Don't put your head down. By the way, unfortunately, a lot of businesses stuck their head in the sand. We didn't. Literally, for the minute we lost all our business, we'd said, okay, let's do it different. Let's do something different. So we did. We went digital with everything. We had clients in Saudi, Dubai, Malaysia, all over the UK. I mean, and by the way, the beauty of this was our costs went down.
But because you're not using bricks and mortar and all those kind of things in events?
Yes. Our costs went down and our revenue went through the roof.
Well, so I mean, we can touch upon the opportunities after post-COVID world, but would you say that's been your biggest challenge? Because obviously for you, I mean, you mentioned trying to get a job. You may have to go and get a job. I guess is that one of your lowest points? Consider you're going to have to go back out there and get a job and then close what you've built up to date.
Yeah, I mean, when I say a thought, it was a thought, right? Because I'm in control of my thoughts. That, you know, obviously years and years and years and years of training your mind. You know, I don't have negative thoughts generally ever. You know, 97% of society think negative. Think 80% of the time. I've trained my mind over the years to look at every single challenge as an opportunity. And that's exactly what I did, Chris. Even though my mind went there, it only went there for a small, very, very, very small time.
And this is where the power is in terms of controlling that thought, because everyone's going to have shitty thoughts from time to time. There's going to be things that come into our consciousness that we don't want there. But unless you take the responsibility on you to filter out what you want to be thinking from actually, you're not supporting me, that's not helpful, you can do one, then you're going to be stuck with whatever enters your head. And that's a really dangerous place to be in.
Yeah.
I think for the show notes as well, James, I think it would be fantastic if you could wipe your board clean for us, or even just blank out what we can't see and show the viewers at one point, because it sounds inspirational what you've got as well. I mean, the image you drive up of you jumping on the table, wiping the board clean and saying, let's do it again, that is inspirational in itself.
I had no choice. I couldn't allow myself to go down that route, like Dan had said. I just can't, I couldn't let it happen. You know, so you mentioned, you know, before I kind of told that story, our biggest challenge ever, right? I mean, everybody knows if you own a small business or you've started a small business, those first 2 or 3 years are horrendous. They're horrendous because no one cares. The world we live in, people don't care.
That's me and Chris in that place right now, yeah. Totally resonate.
Yeah. And that's where that purpose comes in. Anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. So when I think about our greatest challenge, the last 3 or 4 years have been challenges, but COVID was in a different league, a different level, because everything went and we couldn't see a way out because the whole world had shut down. It wasn't us. It wasn't a program. It wasn't an opportunity. It was the whole world kind of almost shut down. So our biggest challenge was probably COVID, but also our biggest success, because it also allowed us to start thinking about and I don't want to be corny, the new world that we all live in now. And I took that and I recreated a business. I recreated everything that we did. I really, drove our passion and our purpose and our vision. And this is the biggest success of all of this. It's not the 300% increase in revenue. Is not the biggest success. The biggest success was we actually created a brand new leadership course off the back of what the world was going through. And it's called Leading with Motivational Intelligence, Leading Through Turbulent Times. And it has just been certified as an actual qualification through the Scottish Qualifications Authority. So you can now get an executive diploma in Leading with Motivational Intelligence, Lead Through Turbulent Times. We're about to release it probably mid to end of March. That is our biggest success to date. That is game-changing because that is a worldwide first across the board, and that gets me excited.
Well, I mean, if you were able to rewind back to when you first had those thoughts about what you might get a job, that thought even to where you are now, that is phenomenal. That is a game changer in itself. That is a kudos moment to you and Inas for pulling that together. So congratulations on that.
Do you think you would have made that course if COVID hadn't hit?
I'm going to say yes and no, and I'll tell you why. Because I always seen we everything we do is bespoke. We don't have off the shelf stuff.
Yeah.
We go into the company, we say, what's your challenges? What's your outcomes? Where do you want to go? Why is it important? And we build everything based on that. And this is also bespoke because we can change the way the content's delivered based on the particular outcomes. So it was always something because we were already an SQA approved training provider. So it was always something that I was wanting to do. But COVID almost fast forwarded it 2 or 3 years, I suppose. It would have been something maybe 3 or 4 years, 2 or 3 years down the line I would have done. But COVID almost, brought it to light. I always knew I wanted to do it. I suppose it helped. It kind of pushed me forward.
Yeah, we had a chap, Chris Stewart, who I worked with for the last 5-6 years. I actually brought him in, but he took redundancy in tail end of last year, and he's ended up building 3-4 businesses off the back of it. But he talks about this burning the boats element, and by just that process of burning the boats means that it will drive the motivation for you to get up and go and do that thing that you've maybe been saying, we'll build to that, we'll get to. Actually, no, the boats are burned right now. I needed to go and get that income. I needed to go and create that change in the world. I need to go and serve those customers as powerfully as I possibly can.
I call burn the bridges for me. I think it's actually Tony Robbins that came up with it. original concept. And when you say burn the bridges, this is what a lot of people see. And it is hard, and I understand if you've got a family and a mortgage and all those things. See, as humans, we will always survive. It is about the mindset that you create when you burn the bridge, right? You create it has to work. I can't allow it to fail. And then you will do it. And that's the motive, right? So motives create actions, and the actions create your results. So if you don't have the right motives, and that's the burning part, if that motive's not strong enough, the why, as Simon Sinek says, is not strong enough, you won't take the actions required to get the right results. And it's like 360. If you look at your results and you're not getting the right results, look at the actions you're taking, and the actions will be based on the motives that are driving you. It's real for me. It's really plain and really simple. You know, how much do you want it? And if you don't want it enough, then you will never go. You'll never go out there and get it. In my opinion.
And I guess let's actually, that's fantastic. So that kind of comes on to purpose, if you like. Can you talk about the why? So obviously Simon Sinek talks about the why, the emotional part of it. What for you, I guess, why is purpose important to you, and what is your purpose, do you feel, and probably what's the purpose of your business, and what's the vision for your business going forward as well?
Yeah, simple. In essence, Chris, our company purpose over profit, it was all about creating a business that answers both economical and social challenges. It has never, ever, ever been about profit. And anybody who's been at the start of my journey, you know, knows that we were never about profit. When we actually started running courses, what we used to do, we would invite business leaders along completely free of charge, running at a loss, just so they could see the impact of what we do, what we've created around this motivational intelligence, and how powerful it was. So we actually ran our business at a loss just so that people could see why purpose is so strong. And it was for the moment that we created the Power Within, we primarily focused on micro businesses. So people who are really struggling, you know, most micro businesses are really struggling. You know, they're struggling day after day after day to just, you know, put food on the table, pay the bills, keep things moving. You know, we also focused a lot of our time. I think you talked about it, Chris, about the stuff we do on a voluntary basis, about young adults and children. So it was never always about business. It was about what we could give back to society. It was always about. I feel very, very fortunate that I had the opportunities in life, that I went out there and grabbed, and the training that I received, and all the things that allowed me to become the person I am today. And I believe that every single person has that power within. Hence the reason the company, the Power Within. I believe we all have it. We call it gut instinct. We call it whatever you want. But we fool ourselves by the negative that we're also believed. And it's all about getting over that self-limiting obstacles, you know, grasping that success comes from within. And that's really, really it for me. That's that whole purpose over profit. Profit is fantastic. You need profit to grow and build your company. But if you don't have a strong enough purpose, a reason to do, why, call it whatever you want, if you don't have a strong, you will give in and you will run away and you will never reach your full potential.
I'm just going to let that sit there
It's
for
fantastic,
a bit,
isn't it?
because I actually think we're going to edit that, and we've got an advert for the podcast right there.
And what I was going to say then, James, because I think that's phenomenal. Sorry, Darren, just quickly, because that enthusiasm, that energy came out from working with you and Enos directly, which is fantastic. And I'd just like to quickly finish off that point by asking, what do you think? What is your vision then for the future, for the company vision, for your own vision, and probably we can move on from there.
So I'll give you our purpose. So our purpose has been always, and this is a key part here, is to create the leaders of tomorrow today. That's the purpose. Now, whether you're a business owner or you're a young, 15, 16-year-old at school, or you're a young kid that's going through a hard time in life, it's to create those leaders of tomorrow. Because remember, leaders is not about people who are at the top of the food chain and running companies. Leaders are all throughout society, people who can change lives for, whether it's people who do life coaching or business coaching or addiction, people that work with addicts, they're the leaders. It's creating the leaders of tomorrow has always been our purpose. And our vision leads really into that really well. So our vision is to help business owners and business leaders from across the globe to think bigger, be dynamic, and achieve more every day. Now, how does businesses come into the thing I said before? It's business owners and business leaders. If we all take more responsibility for our local economy and society, we will change the world. Consistent, small actions. If other businesses, I don't want to blow my own horn here, but if other business owners out there in this world, in our local economy, just done half of what we do as a company, we will live in a different world.
Wow. Again, wow. Honestly, wow, those 2 points have just been mind-blowing. It's fantastic to hear, actually. And you touched upon the kind of community aspect, the giving back, and I'm keen to touch upon that as well, because both Darren and I have done the MCR programme, which we'll put in the show notes as well. We're hopefully going to try and get Ian on as well.
Ian's confirmed. We just need to get the date, yeah.
Fantastic. But Ian used to be my mentor, by the way, believe it or not.
Ian Ritchie, yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, Ian Ritchie used to be my mentor.
And just touching upon that, can you give our listeners a bit, I mean, I know as well, but can you give us the listeners an idea of what you do and your wife doing the kind of paying it forward, the community aspect?
Absolutely. Listen, when I tell you that, people will think, how does he work? So I'm an MCR Pathways young person's mentor. I also help MCR Pathways, or I used to help MCR Pathways build some of their programs. I also work for Young Enterprise Scotland. I'm the Glasgow School chairperson, and I'm a business advisor for Young Enterprise Scotland. I also the Children's Hearing System for Scotland. Their Learning and Development Coordinator for North Lanarkshire Council. I'm a chairperson and a panel representative. We also do, not right now because all the schools are shut, but we do free eradicate bullying in schools. So it's a school workshop around the reverse psychology using NLP about, listen, the bully is also have challenges. So we almost reverse the psychology around bullying. And we are part of a global movement called B1G1, and it's about helping global cases. So we invest money for helping, young girls in Vietnam to get them off the streets as prostitutes, children in India to get schooling. So we invest some of our profits every year to help those causes, and the money goes directly to the cause, not to a CEO who's on $1.2 million a year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting listening between the daily routines, the morning routine, the meditation, the exercise, it's almost like a extended Pomodoro technique. You're 50 minutes on and then breaks, but fitting all of that stuff in as well. What's the main things that you would say count towards your ability to be able to do that?
Simple. What's the podcast called? Purpose. It's all about purpose. Now, if I took all those things out of my life, would I be able to increase my profits? Absolutely. But it's all about purpose. My purpose in life is to show other people that you can achieve anything. You can go out there and reach your full potential, no matter what your starting point in life. No matter what your starting point. I used to look at successful people and think they went to a better school, they've got a fancier degree, etc., etc., etc. Now, I do understand some people have a better starting point, but that doesn't make you successful. IQ doesn't make you successful. EQ doesn't make you successful. It's that motivation, it's that drive, and that's what those things do for me. Watching people change in front of my eyes, and all I've done is ask the right questions. I mean, so there's a selfish part to it because it makes me feel amazing. But there's a purpose there, and it goes right back to why we set up the company. What kind of business would I be if I didn't live my purpose? Then I would be unauthentic. Maybe that's the right word. I wouldn't be authentic in doing what I say to other people you should do.
What's your plans for the future? Where do you see that evolving over the next, say, 10, 15 years?
I would love to have my own thing. And I actually tried to start something up a few years ago, my own charity. But I want to get my business to a better place so that I can, if we talked about Ian McRitchie, probably one of the most successful entrepreneurs that came out of Scotland in terms of the amount of things that he does, and then went on and created an incredible charity in MCR Pathways. I would love to be at that point, that place where I could then change my vision purpose to do something for my society in a massive scale. I think that would be something. I mean, Ian must feel incredibly proud what he's created, because the amount of the young adults and kids he's touched by realising that vision. I think something like that would be a big thing for me. Part of my vision going forward for the company is all of our staff will do something for our local community. So they'll all go into a school, or they'll all do something. So I'd say that's really the main thing for us right now, is where we create what I do and what my wife does. We actually put that through all of our staff, and as the business grow, part of their job function will be to do something for the community.
Yeah, if I take that back to an analogy you used earlier in the podcast, actually, brushing your teeth. So you could have a 2-day event at the Hydro, brushing your teeth for 2 days, and actually how much lasting effect. Actually, it's more in that personal element, standing in front, being consistently exposed, to, exposing our young people, I guess, to those concepts, ideas, and giving them that empowerment, I guess, to take into their life.
Absolutely. And do you know something? It only takes someone like myself or yourself to go in. The NCR Pathways is obviously a great example, to just sit and show that young person who might be going through a really tough time, might be questioning things, might see something at home that doesn't relate to where they want to be, and they can see, listen, I am working class, right? I am I used to share training shoes with my sister. We didn't have money. I didn't come from a background where we had loads of money or anything like that. We were, I'm not going to say poor, because we certainly weren't poor, but we were the epiphany of working class. We knew when my dad had a good month, we get a new washing machine, or we get new trainers, or a new jacket. And I know if I had met somebody like me back then, I mean, my dad was kind of like that, because, he was quite supportive. But I would love to have met somebody like me at 15 or 16. It could have probably, sped up this process. However, I have no regrets about the journey I've took, because it's made me the person I am today.
And I guess as well, that's fantastic to hear, because I'm just laughing because of similarities. I mean, my first pair of Reeboks were my sister's. I remember that as well. So I remember that quite. I'm sure there were girl Reeboks as well, but who cares?
Mine's when I did this kick.
Really? So there we go. But even just listen, our listeners will be hearing this thinking, it's not a matter of if you do it around the community aspect, the Ian Ritchie kind of stuff, or Mick Ritchie you're saying, it's just when it will happen. Because it sounds like you're on that trajectory, you've got that path, and you've got that idea in your head around where you want to get to, which is tremendous. And I guess you talked around Enas as well, your partner, and one of the questions we were keen to ask you, you've kind of covered it off already, but there's a couple of questions I was quite keen to ask. So one was around, what's it like working with your wife, your partner?
Amazing. Our relationship is absolutely flourished by being on the journey together. The good thing is see having a partner that absolutely believes in you no matter what. And by the way, we've had the conversation where my wife said to me, are we on the right path? Are we doing the right thing? And the opposite, should I go and this is getting too hard. We almost had to sell our car. When we first moved back to the UK,
I thought you said cat there for a second.
Cat
enthusiasts everywhere.
When I first moved back to the UK, my wife made a big mistake. We let me go into a Mercedes garage and say, pick what I want.
Okay.
But we almost had to sell our car that were so heavily invested in making it work that we were all in. Again, go back to the burn the bridges. So it's twice this has happened to us in our business where we've had to burn the bridge. And she's been the one that's been supportive to me. No, we can make this happen. And vice versa. When she's been feeling down and no feeling we're in the right place, I've said, baby, you believe in me. We will make this happen. Just trust me. And it has always happened. We've always, when we've thought We're right there. We're done. That absolute consistent belief has enabled us to take that next step, and that's the key. Don't look at the top of the stairs. Look at the stair in front of you and just take it one at a time and keep moving forward. I have a wee thing I talk about, a baby learning to walk. A baby doesn't take its first few steps and fall and get back up and fall and get back up and say, this isn't for me. A baby takes a step. They fall on average, I think, at 240 times before they learn to take the first 2 or 3 steps. That's what we need to do. And that's what my wife and I have done for each other. When we've failed, we've been going, come on then, get back up. You know, we've been encouraging each other when we've been falling. We've been able to get back up and keep moving forward. And that has been the real trust. She trusts my judgment. She lets me run with my vision. And and by the way, Chris, I know you know this. I don't get to make all the decisions. We actually talk about our future, our vision, the company, you know, the investment. We talk about it quite in detail. And then we make a decision as collectively.
Something I was going to just build on that, James. You mentioned the support, the kind of this ability that you can't fail actually in the eyes of, you know, I guess you've got it, that trust between you. What else do you think? I'm thinking in this post-COVID, we're all locked down, we can't see anyone, everyone's on their phones or on the internet more. How, you know, is there any advice you would give the listeners around how do you maintain that environment around you to keep you in that positive state?
Yeah. I think the first question they need to ask themselves is, can they change it? Can they actually change it? And if they can't change it, how can they make that? So if we talk about it as a challenge, don't talk about problems. Look at it as a challenge, right? And that every single challenge that we face in life is actually an opportunity. That's it. You know, can I change this? No, I can't. I can't change my business, my company. I can't change. So what can I do? What's something I've always wanted to do? What's something that I can invest in? Can I learn? Can I go and do something? Don't put your head in the sand, because when you pull your head out, nothing's going to have changed. You're just going to be further behind than everybody else. I think the tennis player, he just won his
Djokovic.
Yes. So he talks about, now he's the best in the world, right? By far at tennis. But he says he's constantly improving. He's constantly looking for ways to improve, because he knows that if he doesn't keep improving and changing, all those other people are moving forward and they will overtake him. And it's the same in life. If they're sitting at home and they're thinking, oh, things never change, nothing will change unless you change. Nothing will get better unless you get better. That's the advice.
I think that is a phenomenal way to end the podcast, James, if I'm honest. That has been inspirational and motivational for everyone. And I think that if anyone wants to check you out, where will they find you?
thepowerwithintraining.com. Facebook is The Power Within Training. LinkedIn, The Power Within Training. Instagram, The Power Within Training. So yeah, The Power Within Training. Just Google us. We'll come at the top of the list. And that's how you can contact us.
Consistency across the channels. I love it as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks so much, James. I think, and if anyone's listening to this wants to go and check it out on YouTube, go and check it out in our YouTube channel. I think you'll hear it in James's voice, the enthusiasm and energy he brings. But yeah, go and check out the YouTube channel and you see what inspiration and motivation is. Fantastic. Thanks so much for coming on, James.
No, absolutely. By the way, I've also got a YouTube channel, so go have a look on that too. I think 100 videos. So, and you'll see some inspiration. But listen, it's been a pleasure, guys, and I absolutely love talking about purpose over profit. It is probably one of the most important things that every business should implement.
Fantastic. Well said, James. And we'll look forward to talking to Ian soon and mentioning we've spoke to you. He'll probably share the same passion and enthusiasm that you share as well, which is fantastic.
Oh, as soon as you mentioned me, I'm like, James, he's been on one of my courses. There you go. And 3 staff. Ian McRitchie has been on one of my courses.
Fantastic. There's an endorsement in itself. That's fantastic.
Yeah, you left me a testimonial that I used to use in all my branding. Anyway, guys, fantastic, and you have a wonderful week ahead.
You too, James. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, James. Bye for now.
Guys.
As always, thank you so much for listening to the Pop Pod this week. If you'd like to leave a review or share the podcast with others, then that'd be awesome. You'll find us on Instagram at the Pop Pod, and on Facebook we have a community group called Purpose to Progress that anyone can join. And we'll be back every Monday with a new episode, but until then, stay on purpose and we'll see you next week.